So while
Yeah, I'll give you a heads up. Sure. No problem. Okay, so that's something that I got.
okay.
Are you sure?
Ohayo gozaimasu. Good morning, everyone. I'm Marian, and I'll be your MC today. And welcome to our May Shotsuki Memorial Service. Please join me for a minute of silent meditation before we begin our service. We'll have sutra chanting Amidakyo on page 70 in your red service books. Will everyone please put your hands together in gasho before sutra chanting? I will read Shotsuki memorial names, so please come up and offer incense when your family members' names are called. Mrs. Gladys Haruko Abe, Mrs. Lillian Sugui Araki, Mr. Kiyoshi Fujieta, Mrs. Fujie Fujieta, Mrs. Masako Fukuhara, Mrs. Masako Fukuhara, Mr. Hiroshi Hara, Mrs. Jean Haruko Hifumi, Mrs. Michiko Higa, Mr. Kiyoshi Hikari, Mrs. Helen Ayami Hirata, Mr. Sueto Kari, Mr. Reiki Ishida, Mrs. Tsuruko Ishikawa, Mrs. Doris Umeko Ishikawa, Mr. Shigeru Ishimatsu, Mr. Sakaichi Iwaki, Mr. Roy Hideo Kaneshiro, Mrs. Grace Matsui Kaneshiro, Mr. Francis Kawada, Mr. Masao Kitayama, Mr. Gary Ken Kudo, Mr. Masatoshi Matsumoto, Mrs. Shizuko Matsumoto, Mrs. Yoshino Mimuro, Mr. Harry Masaru Minamishi, Mrs. Tsutayo Miyamura, Mr. George Kazuyuki Morita, Ms. Kyoko Dorothy Moriyama, Mr. James Kiyoshi Nakamoto, Mr. Roy Yoshiaki Nakamoto, Mr. Isaichi Nakayama, Mrs. Toshiko F. Okuda, Mrs. Mildred Yukie Saida, Sado Sakabuchi,
市長、税商、宗教、昼夜、6時、出話、芸音、音、伝承、合根、合力、七五大分、八正道分、行政、東方、東道、宗教、音声、音に、開始、年部、年法、伝送、シャーリー、法、尿法、理、市長、実税、財宝、少々、勝利、シャーナ、リーブ、国道、ヌルサンマクシュ、シャーリー、
Mr. Alan Kenji Sakuma, Mrs. Ishi Sawamura, Mrs. Sueko Shima, Mrs. Florence Mitsui Shimada, Ms. Catherine Miyoko Shirabe, Mr. Hiroshi Shoji, Ms. Desiree Suginaka, Ms. Hisako Suyama, Mr. Myron Nagao Suyetsuku, Mr. Richard Kakuji Takasaki, Mr. Mamoru Takeshita, Mr. Shigeru Tamanaha, Reverend Fred Gyon Tamayose, Reverend Shuri Toshiko Tamayose, Mrs. Hatsue Tanoe, Mrs. Uda Terada, Mr. Harry Kyoji Tomita, Mrs. Masao Tsuchiyama, Mrs. Harumi Fujimori, Mr. George H. Umemoto, Mrs. Hanako Ueno, Mr. James Takeo Yamamura, Mr. Rikio Yamashita, Mr. Saburo Yamashita, Mr. Richard Goichi Yoshida, Mr. Hyo Saburo Yoshida. Is there anybody else's name that I did not call?
主味ソル大主味ル主味コルヨンルヨセトオガシャシュショル白老東国主公上絶ソ天風三千大千世界切上立論明と修上と心聖書三空が思議空毒一切小流小年行シャリホ南方世界空日が東部両門東部大元剣部主義東部無料精進無料生徒合華者修正部各老合国修公上絶相天風三千大千世界切上実論領と修上と心聖称賛空が思議空毒一切小部小法年行シャリ法最法世界無料十無料総部無料道部大公部大名部放送部上皇部行政の合賀者首相部各老合国出公朝絶唱天風三千大千世界切上実論領と修上と心聖称賛空華思議空毒一切小部小法年行シャリ法法世界有縁見部最小音部南宋部日照法名部両生徒合賀者修正部各老合国修公朝絶相三千大千世界切上実論領と修上と心聖称賛空華思議空毒一切小部小法年行シャリ法芸法世界有志士部妙門部妙法部夏間部報道地方部行政と合賀者修正部各老合国修公朝絶相天風三千大千世界切上実論領と修上と心聖称賛空華思議空毒一切小部小法年行シャリ法上法世界空門論部修道部工場部工房部大元見部雑式法系本心部シャラ十王部法系特部権一切義行修義専部行政と合賀者修正部各老合国修公上絶相天風三千大千世界切上実論領と修上と心聖称賛空華思議空毒一切小小法年行シャリ法法名義過法名一切小部小法年行シャリ法百善男子善名に音声小部小説名義行名者霊障善男子善名に一切小部小五年海徳大天大安国なら三脈三号大成功者利用領と海と真珠やの一生無償聖者利用役異没願本没願同没願欲生阿弥陀仏国者霊障人の海徳大天大 はドクタラ三脈三宝大大ひ国土脈一小脈本小脈東小税法者理法小前南市現業に脈新者応答発願小義国南進司法者理法統治が法同族惑星行使南寺徳は徳田ら三脈三宝来一切制限摂氏南進司法税理人南仏政治教育者理法一生ビク一切制限天人アシュラト門流小生暗義真珠祭に王仏世阿弥陀
If everyone will please rise, we're going to have Vandana Ti-Sarana, 317, followed by the three treasures on page 18 in your red service books. So everyone please rise. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa buddham saranam gacchami Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami. Difficult is it to receive life in human form. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the Buddha Dharma. Now we hear it. If we do not receive awakening in the present life, then in what life can we hope to receive it? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we, together as one, begin on the great path of enlightenment, holding in our hearts the supreme aspiration. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we, together as one, enter the storehouse of the Dharma and attain true wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we, together as one, uniting in harmony, strive to live for the enlightenment of all beings. The incomparable, deep, and profound Dharma is difficult to encounter even through countless ages of kalpas. Now we're privileged to hear and receive it. Let us endeavor to thoroughly understand the true meaning of the Buddha Dharma. Namo Amidakyo Sutra, Namo Amidakyo Sutra, Namo Amidakyo Sutra. Well, you can, sure. Sure, please be seated.
Okay. Now we'll get a Dharma message from Reverend Steve. Thank you.
Namo Amidakyo Sutra, Namo Amidakyo Sutra, Namo Amidakyo Sutra. Well, hello there. Ohayo gozaimasu and aloha, everybody. Thank you very much for coming to our May Shotsuki service. This is our monthly service we usually have at the first Sunday of the month, except for April, which is kind of crazy. But this is our service where, when you have a memorial service for a family member, people have like a private service, but this is a service for all the people who passed away during the month of May throughout the temple's history. And we always read out the names of the people who passed away within the last 50 years. And, many family members come to remember their family members on that day. Certainly a lot easier than back in the old days where the minister would have to get on a scooter or on a bike and go to every member's house. Here you can sit down, it's nice padded seating, and we can listen to a Dharma message here. So the meaning of Shotsuki, the two Chinese characters that make up Shotsuki, Shotsuki Hoyo is the official Japanese name for this service. So Shotsuki is like joy or auspicious, and Suki means month. So it's like your joyful or auspicious month. And Hoyo, it means essence of the Dharma. And it's come to mean like a Buddhist service. So it's kind of like a joyful occasion for us to get together, not because, the service that we're conducting, it's not like in the old days where the service was held for the benefit of the spirit or the soul of our ancestors to go to the Pure Land or to Nirvana. This is a gathering for us to think about our family members, to remember the times we shared together, our memories, our experiences that we shared with them, and to give thanks for all the stuff that we receive from them. It gives us a chance to remember them and to share that memory with others. And so, what teaching is it that they're always trying to bring to us? What is the thing that we receive at these memorial services? And it's the teaching of impermanence. This is a first teaching that Shakyamuni Buddha realized. Even before he became the Buddha, he realized that things change. Things that are young grow old, things that are healthy can grow sick, and people who are alive will die. This is a profound beginning of his spiritual journey. And intellectually, it seems like something that we should understand well. Of course, things change. It's just like that song said, times they are a-changing. We can find a little bit more gray hairs. We kind of will feel the effects of aging. We see people around us getting a little older, or we have people in our lives who have encounters with sickness and even death. And so, it's like the wind. Even though we can't necessarily see it when it's happening, we feel the effects in our life. And so even though we understand it on a fundamental level, of course, this is reality. And as Buddhists, interconnection, impermanence, these are something that we're all supposed to, of course, we all know that. But deep down in our heart of hearts, it's something that is very difficult for us to accept. Nobody wants to get old, nobody wants to get sick, and nobody wants to lose a family member. Or, at the very heart of our anxieties and fears is that fear of dying ourselves. We try never to think about it. That's just part of life. If we only think about us passing away or us dying, it's kind of like, seems like it would be a very gloomy way to live. But the opposite is true too. It's if we try to avoid thinking about it, when we come face first with the reality of impermanence, we're not prepared for it. It catches us off guard. It hits us like a semi-truck. So Shinran Shonin, our temple's founder, Shakyamuni Buddha, they wanted to have ways of people to deal with death and all these changes before something really hard hits us, so that when it happens, it's like well, maybe not exactly like Aikido, but you redirect the energy. You can find meaning in it, and you can understand that these changes are a natural part of life, not something that is like a punishment, or not something that is, we stepped on a crack or something like that, or we got the, a bachi or something. No. This is just how life goes. My mother's cousin, we called him Uncle Kenny Fujimoto. He passed away at the end of last year. And so, his profession was a dentist. So you can imagine, as a kid, I did not like to see Uncle Kenny very often. Usually, seeing him and visiting him at his office meant that I was going to have some cavities, or some drilling, or some you have to wear that 20-pound lead vest as they put this gigantic X-ray machine in your face. I was not eager to see Uncle Kenny when I was a kid. But as I grew older, I loved going to Little Tokyo in downtown LA. And so I would see him all the time, at all these festivals and events and stuff, and would say hello. But, he was always working hard at the dentist's office. And for his leisure, he would go on trips to go fishing and stuff like, butterfly hunting and things like that. He had a lot of different hobbies. And so when he passed away, I realized that, I didn't really know him as well as my mom did. But, since he didn't have any kids, and, his only child, and his mother had passed away, or, no surviving close family, my mom and her siblings and their cousins have been kind of cleaning up. They've been taking care of the house and going through his papers and things like that. I'm sure any of you who dealt with the death of a close family member, a parent, have dealt with something similar to that. And so it's really kind of like sifting through somebody's life. All the family albums, all the legal papers, all the junk and things that they probably should have thrown away but didn't, all their precious, wonderful things that they held dear. And so it's kind of like when our loved ones passed away, it leaves us with the thought of like, we also will pass away someday. We will, somebody will have to take care of our things. Somebody will have to go through our papers. Hopefully we can make it a little easier on them, have a plan for what happens. Getting to talk to my buddy in Los Angeles, and he's become an insurance agent. He says, well, I don't want to be that guy, but I sell life insurance, and it's something that it doesn't have to be for me, but it's something you should think about. Because when you pass away, that's it for your responsibility on things. You're going to the Pure Land, you're going to Nirvana, you're passing on beyond the veil, returning to life itself. All that stuff, you don't have to worry about. But the people left behind, all your things, all of that legacy, that's what's left behind. And so, what is that going to be? That has us think, what is it that we leave behind? Every time we have a funeral service, we read Renyo Shonin's Letter on White Ashes. Back in the day, they used to read it in Japanese, but all the third generation people I talked to said, gosh, we can't really understand what they were saying all these years. So we always read it in English whenever I do a funeral service. So one of the most important parts to me is when he says, whether I go before others or others go before me, whether it be today or whether it be tomorrow, who is to know? Those who leave before us are as countless as the drops of dew. Though in the morning we may have radiant health, in the evening we may return to white ashes. The people who go before us are as countless as drops of dew. Here in Hawaii, I don't know how much dew we have in the morning, but back in LA, in the morning, there's all these little droplets that gather on the leaves in the morning. By the afternoon, they've all evaporated away. So the meaning is there's countless generations of people who came before us, all these family members who, I guess if you think of our life as a tapestry, like those wonderful Hawaiian quilts that we have here on Saturdays, each thread represents an ancestor. All of our lives with this blanket, it's this quilt, and there's countless numbers of people, I guess, don't even have to be related to us, who are part of our lives. Even if we never met them, because these generations ago, they had children, they raised a family, their kids grew up and eventually become our ancestors. Because of all of these threads coming together, that makes us who we are. And that, like them, someday we will become that thread in someone's life. And so, it's easy for us to realize that we're impermanent. Well, I guess no, it's actually quite difficult for us to realize that we're not going to be around forever. And to a lot of people, that seems kind of pessimistic. That seems like a half glass empty kind of thinking. Buddhism seems kind of gloomy if you just talk about it, if you just kind of look on the surface, because we're always talking about death. People don't really go to Buddhist temples for a wedding or when babies are born as much as they come when there's a funeral service. But I think, this realization of our own impermanence is something that is so important to realize that, hey, I'm not going to be around. I better start thinking about what I want my legacy to be. I want to start thinking about, getting my affairs in order. And that means not just physically in the material world, but also spiritually. Shinran Shonin, he had this vision when he was, 10 years before he left the monastery that said, in 10 years, if you have not received awakening, you're going to die. And so that's why, he was working so hard to find peace and comfort in his studies and his meditation, but he just couldn't do it. And so that's what drove him to leave the monastery to seek something that could help him. When we realize that our lives are finite, that we've got to, not just like, I'm 43 years old, maybe you could say, oh, I've got 40 or 50 years left, but there's no guarantees on that. If I start living like I expect that I'm going to have all of those 50 years or something like that, going to Vegas and dropping it all on roulette or something like that, well, that's not going to do. But the realization of our mortality is our encouragement to seek, understanding, to see ourselves more clearly, to, turn that Buddhist lens on ourselves to see all the stuff that we try not to find, all the stuff that we try not to look at. Manshi Kyozawa, one of our great teachers, says that we need to look at the faults of others like through a telescope. Something in a telescope seems very far away. But when we look at something in the microscope, it looks very close up. It looks very large. Telescopes were probably, we need to be able to examine our lives more closely. Are we peaceful? Are we happy? Are we sure that if we die tomorrow, if something happens to us, that, we kind of are at peace, that we're able to accept whatever happens? And so in Jodo Shinshu, the idea is that we always have this, the compassion of the Dharma, that's always reaching out and trying to pull us towards awakening, towards seeing ourselves in our total flawed totality, to be able to look at ourselves and see that we are foolish, ignorant beings, but that doesn't mean that we're not worthy of, finding happiness, finding peace in our lives. That Shinran Shonin, he saw this power beyond the self as something that was pulling him towards awakening, and that all we have to do is to open ourselves up to that. When we realize that we are grasped by this power that the Amida Buddha represents, we can find peace and comfort, what he calls like a shinjin. It's that gets us past our hang-ups. It means that the things that happen in our life, we're able to adjust to. We're able to take things as they come. We're able to be grateful for all the people around us. I think one of the most concrete things about a funeral service is that the people that we gather there are there to support the family. They're there to celebrate the life of the person who passed away, but they're there for the family. And that, human life seems like a pretty lonely thing, but because sickness, old age, and death is something that affects everybody, we're all in the same boat. There's a lot of compassion that we can have and that we can receive for the people who are also going through the same thing. And that at a memorial service, at a funeral service, it's our chance to support one another, to receive that love from our neighbors, from our friends. And that's the stuff that gives us the energy to deal with all the things that are changing in our lives. And that's what, just like this from Reverend Todd Tsuchiya, this path that we're walking together. We tend to think of our path as a means to an end, to get to a destination, like awakening. But that's not what the Nembutsu path is. The path of the Nembutsu is a journey, and the journey is that destination. It does not mean that we don't come across difficulties. When we look back, we can see more clearly the things we have received, then our hearts will be filled with gratitude. That is our life of Namo Amida Butsu. That's what it means when we say Namo Amida Butsu. It's an expression of deep gratitude for the compassion that we've received from all of the things around us. It's for the ancestors that have become teachers and Buddhists to us, the things that we're always learning from them. And, us putting our hands together is our chance to express our deep gratitude. And, I express my gratitude to all you folks who have come today and who have listened. Thank you very much, and you all have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you, Reverend Steve. We have a few announcements for the month of May. Later on today at 11:30, we'll have the photography club meeting in the conference room. On Wednesday, the 6th at 5:30, we have karaoke night, and that is both in person and on Zoom. On Saturday, the 9th at 10 o'clock, we have Shoshinge for beginners class. It's in English, and that's over here in the conference room, and it's also on Zoom, and it is facilitated by Rinban Inoue. On 10th, Mother's Day at 10 o'clock, we have Mother's Day family service, both in person and YouTube, and our guest lay speaker will be Hiroka Inoue. On Tuesday, the 12th at 3 o'clock, there's ukulele band practice, both in person and Zoom. The following Sunday, the 17th at 10, there's Tanjoe Shinran birthday service, both in person and YouTube. On the 19th, Tuesday at 11:30, there'll be the lunch bunch meeting at Midtown Eats Food Hall, which is the new food hall on Keomoku Street. And if you'd like to carpool, please meet here at the temple, I guess 11 or 11:15. If you're meeting.
11:30 is when we're going to leave.
Oh, 11:30 is when you leave.
We meet there.
Okay.
Usually it's about 11:40.
Okay. So that's 11:30 lunch, meet here, and then meet there about 11:40.
Yeah.
Okay. Saturday, the 23rd at 10 o'clock, Shoshinge for beginners, study class in English. Again, facilitated by Rinban Inoue. On the 24th, Sunday at 10, is the All Wars Memorial Service. So that's both in person and YouTube, and remembering all victims of all wars. And let's see. Any other announcements?
Well, you mentioned that Mother's Day is going to be next week, right?
Yeah,
It's coming
next
up pretty
Sunday.
soon. So encourage everybody to come down, bring your family, because after the service, we're going to have a nice pancake breakfast. So don't eat anything beforehand. Well, you can have something small, but save some appetite because we're going to be making up scrambled eggs and pancakes and bacon, Portuguese sausage, and all that good stuff. Because we want to give our regular kitchen crew a break, and especially the moms, let them have a break. If there's any fellas who would like to come and help us out, we're going to be cooking from 8 o'clock, or you can come at 8:30. And so we're going to be getting the food ready to serve all the moms, grandmas, and ladies at the temple. So yeah, please come on down to help us, and any help would be much appreciated.
Okay, any other announcements? Okay, I hope Reverend Steve got all you men to volunteer, right? Give all the moms and all the women here a little bit of a break. Okay. If there's no other messages, please join me in Gasho and
What was it?
Ondokusan, sorry.
Sure, if everyone will please rise and turn to page 112. Here's the blue tickets.
This concludes our service for today. Please join us for some light refreshments over at Otani Hall.
I made
See you
up a
next week.
gumbo, so please try some out. It's low carb,
Ooh.
sausage, chicken, good stuff.